Okay, so I am typically, these days, a faction warfare player. I'm in Caldari Lowsec, and a system called Avonin, which is just up the pipe from a couple of the major Warzone sites between Onamon and HiSec. Um, the insurgency ended a day or two ago, so a new one should be back up. And we've got about 3 frontline areas in the war zone. So I haven't really looked at any of the latest map info. I haven't checked where the new insurgency is, but I know from previous experiences that it is not easy to get an overview or a clear picture of where you are and what's going on. So the most common way I look at the area that I'm in, because I'm in faction warfare, is the faction warfare map. The faction warfare map is actually pretty good. An issue with the map is that it's kind of hard to see where you are without zooming out and looking for this icon if you don't already know the map and where you are. So sometimes you can get a little bit turned around, especially when I was new to the area. You know, if I'm down here in like Tama or something, and I'm not really quite sure, it can be very disorientating. There are some issues with this UI screen, namely this gigantic block. I know I'm in Caldari. I've been in faction warfare for 2 or 3 months now. I know who I am. I know who I'm at war with. I don't need a giant retire button there all the time. I mean, I'd consider this dead space. This is doubly so. This is dead space. In the Warzone control view, so the state faction warfares, this is a dead space. You know, if I'm clicking here in the different systems, this is all dead space. There's a lot of dead space here. But the form of the map is pretty good, right? It's fairly normalized. It's reasonably clear. Pipelines, groups. There's not too much overlap in the lines between nodes. So like we might have a little overlap here and there, but for the most part, all paths are quite distinct. I quite like this. It's nice. We could do with maybe there is a shortcut I don't know about, but some hotkeys or some large buttons that either show me or center where I am. So yeah, I think this is probably the best of the maps, but there are some issues. There is another way of looking at this information. That is here in the classic map. And by going to faction warfare, oh, okay, so I need all militias. Can I take 2? Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have these be distinct and not be able to enable them at the same time. Like, they're literally dependent on one another. I guess I'll just leave it on all militias. So, I mean, immediately, oops. The first problem is that the form of these maps is just entirely different. Okay. These are not the same shape. So, any sense of location and geography and place I have that I've built from using this map is just gone. Okay. Now I know Nenemalia, or sorry, Akadagi's beside me, and Nenemalia is going to be one of these two, and then like honestly, God knows. Beyond that, I couldn't tell you. So let's say we want to go from Avonen to Tama. So in my mind, from looking at this map, I know I go around to Nen, which is a bit of a hub, and then to Pine, which is like a sort of a Pine and Oni kind of central points. And then I would be looking to go up the pipe. So I have this sort of flow in my head. How does that map over here? So let's put let's put Tama in. Set our destination. Oh yeah, this is another issue. I don't see my route in this map. It would be really, really convenient if I could see my route. This is, I can see my route here. I don't know why I can't see my route in other, in this map. Oh, what is that? Yeah. So let's see how well that flow maps. I go around to one of the big sort of pipes, up to a branch, and then I keep going up. So it's kind of like an S shape, but with a very short head. Whoop. No, not at all. Okay. So here I'm going down, I go way over to the west, and then I apparently do some sort of intergalactic jump back to the east. Tama is actually nowhere near Kadama in space. So these two systems are nowhere near each other. This is like extremely disorientating. I don't think it's bad that Tama is over here. I do think it's bad that I can't reason about that between the maps. If it was just the case that Tama was always shown as being over there, if the faction warfare map was the same representation here, but with the nice little cells of color and globs of influence, that would be completely fine. But as it stands, very confusing. But wait, it gets worse. I'm not even going to talk about the 3D map, because obviously that's impossible to reason about. Yeah, but wait, it gets worse. If I go to insurgencies, okay, so let's just have a look here. So the FOB is in this system, which I've never heard of. Let's set it as destination. Let's go back to faction warfare. So we want to find Saranimi. So we've got it as our destination. We're looking at the map we're most familiar with, and we can't see it. So we're going to have to literally look for it with our eyes, because as far as I know, there's no way to search. And I genuinely have no idea where it is. And worse still is that I can show this on the map here, but we kind of already know that there's very little relation between these two maps. Because the actual distances here look sort of normal, one isn't way off like Tama. I think we can probably judge it to be up here. Saranimi. Okay. So Saranimi's here. We're here. We have managed to find our way there, thank God, because there's no crazy mappery going on. But yeah, let's look at the other way to view this same data. So what systems are besides Serenimi? We've got Carge, Hike. Are they connected? I think so. Carge and Hike seem to be the only two other systems. Hike goes to Villasen and Ash. Okay. What in the name of God is this? What is this map? This is so confusing. Once again, we've got no UI elements to recenter us on ourselves, toggle names, you know, change map, shape or anything. Loads more dead space all over the place. I can't see the system names. I can't see the system names. I gotta zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, zoom in, all the way to this level, right? So where I can only see two and a half systems at a time. Two, really. Okay, maybe three. So I really have no sense of shape, size, scale. What is this line? This line goes Serenimi to, this must be the Carge. And then there's like whatever the hell these are. And whatever that is. This is unbelievably confusing. And this is in its best state because this is right at the beginning of an insurgency. So you can see the other insurgency has been going on a while. It is a completely unusable disaster. I don't know, you can't see the name of any of these systems. As the insurgency goes on, as these bubbles grow, they start to overlap with each other. And you'll notice that they stay the same size, essentially, as you zoom out. It's just so messy. So I think these do try and keep some sort of normalized shape the same as this map. Where's Carge? Up here. Yeah, so this is the same shape. But that, oh god, where am I? Yeah. This is the same shape, is it? Yeah. So it's the same shape, but it has loads of missing nodes because it only shows like one system over from each like insurgency system. So you start to lose like loads of visual context. If you're like, oh, where's this area that has like systems in a box with one going this way? It's like, well, you're missing this system from that map, which is real strange. Not great. These are both supposed to be forms of faction warfare. Why they don't share the same type of map is very confusing. I mean, maybe insurgencies aren't faction warfare, but they may as well be, right? So, yeah, there really should be a lot of similarity, if not the exact same form of map between them. This just needs to get fixed. Really difficult to deal with, especially in denser areas. I actually know this area fairly well. By chance, I used to live down here in Syracuse with Rifterlings. So yeah, this just happens to be a really geometric, nice sort of area anyway. But what a lot of places are not. Like this is, what do you call it? Over near Turner and stuff, I think is over here. That's gonna get crazy looking. Yeah. Where is it? Yeah, here. Yeah. And that's not all. There are more ways of viewing the same information. There's the F11 map that shows, like, am I in the Ishaga constellation? I guess I am. That's Avonin apparently. That's Akidagi. How does this compare to... So this is just completely different again. Different shape, really. Is it the same but rotated? Like if I tilt my head, is that the same? What's this? Hikoken? No, it's just different again. It is actually just different. There's too many ways of showing the same information. The solar system map is decent, at least. It would be nice to be able to zoom in on this easily in a 2D way. Another important point. As a faction warfare player who's in an insurgency area, I mean, I'm quite concerned with both of these things going on, and they both happen very typically in the same important areas of space. Like the last insurgency we had here was sorry, I'm not used to, see, I'm not used to this map, so I can't even tell you. The last two insurgencies were, I mean, one was all the way up here around where I live, then in Amalia, Avonin, and so on. I think it started off in Hikoken. Then the next one was here. You know, this whole area is often quite insurgency. I need to be able to see that in the same place that I'm looking at my faction warfare. It's important for me to figure out where to defend, where to attack, what systems might be corrupted. Like, if my corp is saying, hey, we need to go to Mirko and try and defend it, and I need to route myself down through insurgency space to do that, I gotta see it. It has to be clear. And I know I get the little nullsec symbol or whatever at the triangle for insurgency systems. But when I'm planning my move, when I'm looking at all my different characters, being like, oh, this guy's here, that guy's there, who has implants, you know, I'm trying to just streamline things. It's really awkward to have to flick between the two completely separate views and be like, oh, where was that again? Literally no idea. And this guy is here, and then what in the name of God is that? I've tried to build a habit of just using this map, but this map doesn't show really important information. Doesn't show front lines, doesn't show command systems, doesn't show anything like that, right? So this faction warfare view, great. It shows me this system's gal, this system's gal. Like, that doesn't really mean anything to me if I don't know if it's a front line or whatever. And then I can turn on insurgencies. They all just say like 1.1.0, 2.0. These are the security statuses of the low-sec systems, right? I don't really care. That like doesn't really mean much in the context of the insurgency. Where is the insurgency information? This system is affected by the insurgency. Okay, to what degree? Like, this is info I need to know about. I'm just not getting any information. What's the 1.0? Is that a normally 1.0 high-sec system? No, it's not even that. It's 0.4. So I actually have no idea what that 1.0 stands for. Yeah, so this is 0.3. That's a 0.4. What's the 1.0? Is that Carista's level? Is it their insurgency level? Is it our suppression? I have no idea. Maybe I can go and see in the other map view. No, it's a 0, so it's not a 1. Hi, Frankie. That's my cat. Hey, buddy. Yeah, so I have no idea. Don't know what that is. Anyway, you know, generally speaking, in good design, there's one correct way that's been well thought out and you know, representing something, and then people can use that shared reference point to build out, flesh out more complex ideas or ways of interacting with each other, with using that as a foundation. And this just does not seem to meet that. I understand that the sort of normalized 2D representation of a 3D world might call for one type of representation, whereas an ideal faction warfare map might call for another. Like I expressed earlier, my preference for the faction warfare layout, even though it's, as we saw with Tama, not geographically accurate in terms of space. But I would very, very happily sacrifice the convenience of this for a uniform interface, along with just obvious changes like good naming, not scaling these infinitely over each other, so on and so forth. The things I talked about earlier. This has been kind of a long, rambling talk about maps, but I really hope we can get some progress on this. I really hope we can get a unified, shared way of looking at faction warfare and insurgencies, be that in this form or the tailored form of faction warfare. And thank you very much for listening.